Good Monday, everyone, and welcome into today's daily Bible reading for September the 26th. Today we are reading together in Revelation chapter 13 concerning the beast from the sea and the beast from the earth and the dreaded number 666. Well, if you have tuned in this morning or this afternoon on this Monday, and you're wondering what exactly I'm going to tell you is the meaning of 666, well, I'm going to leave you sorely disappointed. We're not going to get into that really, but we are going to look at some of the kind of the principle behind receiving a mark and what that can lead us to think about today. That we can, as far as what we can take away from this text on a practical level. Just as a reminder, again, as always, as we're looking here in Revelation, we're looking at an apocalypse. And this is apocalyptic literature, which would have been familiar to first century Jews who would have seen literature along these same lines, dating even back to the times of Daniel's writing. And it is very highly symbolic in nature. Again, it would have been familiar to them. The images and the symbols that are used here would have made a lot more sense to them than it does to us on the surface. But if we're able to kind of dig in and see and investigate what it would have meant to them, then it can help us to understand in a greater way. But it's also good to remember that this is a prophecy. This is written from God's perspective, delivered to man. It's from God through Jesus to John, so that he can share this as a letter to specific people at a specific time for a specific purpose. So again, I encourage us all to keep in mind that our understanding of the Revelation does not need to be from 21st century Western minds, but we need to seek first and foremost to try to understand it from their perspective so that we can then take away not necessarily direct applications for our day and times. I don't believe at all that this is a roadmap to the end times, but instead we can take away principles as we're going to take away today that can help us to be better followers of Jesus and do a better job of relying upon him and reflecting his image in everything that we do. So let's read about this beast coming out of the sea and this beast coming out of the earth. Again, there's a lot of symbolism going on here that we're not going to get into, but I do encourage you, if you like to do some digging on your own, to see maybe you come to a greater understanding on this text. But there's one thing that I really want to think about as we get to the end. So let's read here in Revelation chapter 13. Revelation 13, verse number 1, and I saw a beast coming up out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads. On its horns were 10 crowns, and on its heads were blasphemous names. The beast I saw was like a leopard. Its feet were like a bear's, and its mouth was like a lion's mouth. The dragon gave the beast his power, his throne, and great authority. One of its heads appeared to be fatally wounded, but its fatal wound was healed. The whole earth was amazed and followed the beast. They worshiped the dragon because he gave authority to the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast? Who is able to wage war against it?" The beast was given a mouth to utter boasts and blasphemies. It was allowed to exercise authority for 42 months. It began to speak blasphemies against God, to blaspheme his name and his dwelling, those who dwell in heaven. And it was permitted to wage war against the saints and to conquer them. It was also given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All those who live on the earth will worship it. Everyone whose name was not written from the foundation of the world in the book of the life of the Lamb who was slaughtered. If anyone has ears to hear, let him listen. If anyone is to be taken captive, into captivity he goes. If anyone is to be killed with a sword he will be killed. This calls for endurance and faithfulness from the saints. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. It exercises all the authority of the first beast on its behalf and compels the earth and those who live on it to worship the first beast, whose fatal wound was healed. It also performs great signs, even causing fire to come down from the earth to from heaven to earth in front of people. It deceives those who live on the earth because of the signs that it is permitted to perform in the presence of the beast, telling those who live on the earth to make an image of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. It was permitted to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast could both speak and cause whoever would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. And it makes everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, the beast's name, or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, because it is the number of a person. Its number is 666. And that is Revelation chapter 13. Whenever we think about, again, this chapter and many of the chapters that we're reading through here in Revelation, recognize again that John is borrowing so much language and imagery from the Old Testament. And whenever we think about the Old Testament, we think about a number, maybe there's one particular section that comes to our minds that uses this type of language once again and refers to a beast. That would be Daniel 7. Daniel 7 describes a beast and uses it in somewhat similar language. And yet there's another portion of the Old Testament text that might not come to our mind right off the bat, but actually involves two beasts as well, one of the sea and one of the land. And that would be towards the end of Job. Remember, God is giving his rebuttal to Job concerning the accusations and the struggle that Job is facing. And God says, Job, consider the behemoth, which is the great land monster, and the Leviathan, the great sea monster. Can you take down the behemoth? Could you put hooks in the nose of the Leviathan? I think what those two images are symbolizing there in Job is the idea of the earth, and the way the earth operates is just wild. It's crazy. It's chaotic. Job, can you really handle those things? And I wonder if that's kind of the idea that we're getting behind here. Although these beasts might refer to actual people, they might. I mean, one of the resources I'm reading ties a lot of this into Nero and his persecution against Christians and such. But just think about what the beast represents. The beast represents chaos. It represents destruction, and represents really everything that is against God. Because God is not a God of chaos. He's not a God of destruction. In fact, in the beginning, in the creation account, we think about water. And water, so often in the ancient Near Eastern mind, was a symbol of chaos. What did God do? God calmed the waters. God brought form to the water. And he made calm that which was, in a sense, chaotic. Well, here are these forces of continued chaos and continued destruction and rampage, and these beasts, and they're working with the dragon, and there are those who, there are those who are going to belong to the beast. Again, and it makes everyone, talking about the beast here, it makes everyone, small and great, rich and poor, slave and free, to receive a mark on his hand or on his forehead. So no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, the beast's name, or the number of its name. So what does it mean to belong to them? If this background is concerning imperial cultic worship of the emperor, and that's kind of what's going on here. That's possible, and there are many ways in which that makes sense. The one we're really talking about is whose side are you on? Whose side are you on? And I think that's really the main point that is being pushed across to us here within this text. Are you going to belong to chaos? Are you going to belong to evil and wickedness? Are you going to belong to the side that is against God? Are you willing to receive the mark and be a part of that team? Or will you stand up and belong to Jesus? Remember, it's interesting that we take this language here in Revelation 13 and we put it together with the language that is found in Revelation chapter, let's see, I believe it's let me figure out which one I should have marked this before. Revelation chapter 3, and the church at Philadelphia. The one who conquers, this is Revelation 3, verse 12. The one who conquers, I will make a pillar in the temple of my God. He will never go out again. Notice this. I will write on him the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, the New Jerusalem, which comes down out of heaven for my God, and my new name. So there's imagery within this book about being written upon and being designated as belonging to something. That's really the point I want to take away from here. And that's the question I want to leave us with today. Who do we belong to? Who do we belong to? Symbolically, whose name has been stamped on our forehead? That was a real struggle that was taking place for the Christians of the first century. Where did their allegiance lie? Who would they be loyal to? That might result in them being killed or having a very difficult life living within the Roman world at that time. But would we rather bear the mark of the beast and belong to him and be loyal to him and have some success here, but suffer eternally? Or are we willing to suffer here in the short term so that we may have eternal blessings with God because we belong to him? That was the question for the first century Christians, and that, friends, is our question for today. We ask that of ourselves. Who do we belong to? Who are we loyal to? May God help us to always be loyal to him. Thank you so much for tuning into this reading. Hope you have a great rest of your Monday. If you have any questions or comments, always feel free to leave those in the comments section. And we'll be back at it again tomorrow as we read it again from the Revelation. We'll be in chapter 14 tomorrow on Tuesday, September the 27th. Have a great day, everyone. Take care. God bless. Oh, and happy birthday to Leslie Hoover. I believe I saw on Facebook today. It is her birthday. Happy birthday to you, Leslie. Everyone take care.